So we've been talking about the New York investigation. Obviously, there are a number of different investigations into Donald Trump and his inner circle, particularly around, for instance, January 6th. And I've been very frustrated, as I think a lot of people have, with the fact that Merrick Garland seems to be scared of his shadow in taking any action here. The January 6th committee members are a little bit more active, but they announced just a week or two ago that they weren't going to be bringing in any Congress people to testify, and a number of other people have defied them so far. What do you think about some of these other investigations, and how many of the people that are in positions to potentially investigate or provide some sort of consequences that seem very worried about, taking particular actions?
Well, I think that we are seeing a real breakdown of white collar criminal enforcement, something I've written about for 30 some years. And that's a fundamental core problem. Now, Donald Trump has other investigations that he's facing. The Westchester County, New York District Attorney, who is a former federal prosecutor, is looking into him for property tax fraud. The District Attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, which overlays Atlanta, has a special grand jury over Donald Trump's infamous call to Brad Raffensperger, the Georgia chief elections official. Then there are civil investigations by the Attorney General in Washington, D.C., which could morph into a criminal case, and by Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, who's an independently elected official. Donald Trump's going to be involved in litigation until the day he dies, but it is really remarkable the lack of resolve to pursue this. Now, Merrick Garland, as Attorney General, faces a problem that we need to give some thought and respect to. If he indicts the former president of the United States, it invites the indictment of future former presidents by other administrations. That's a can of worms that we need to think about. In France, in Israel, and India, we've had the former heads of the government indicted, but we've never done that in the United States. And I think Merrick Garland's fervent hope is that the states will take care of this, which makes it all the more important that Kathy Hochul come under so much public pressure that she has to assign this case to Letitia James, the Attorney General, to be reopened. All she has to do is write a letter, and I merely point out in my piece it has to be a broad enough investigation, because the Mueller investigation was hampered by the very narrow grounds which was written, and almost nobody reported that because they didn't read the letter. I mean, there's a fundamental problem here that most journalists accurately tell you what their sources tell them, but they don't know the law, they don't know regulations, they don't read economics, they don't do their own calculations because most of them are innumerate. and it's common practice to say, well, go to an accounting firm and they'll do the numbers for you, and then of course all you know is what the accounting firm told you. Really there are lots of things coming down on Donald Trump's head, but the one that's most important, I think, is the New York criminal investigation that for the moment is dead, but can absolutely be revived if just enough people contact Kathy Hochul, and we put her number up at dcreport.org.
Everyone should definitely do that, and the piece that David's alluding to is available at DC Report. Everyone should go take a look at it. I did want to ask you one more question though, because you talked about the potential precedent that could be set if we start investigating or indicting past presidents. Obviously, Donald Trump is in this very interesting middle ground right now where he is no longer president, but he is seemingly, if you believe him, incredibly likely to run again very soon. So thank you for enumerating all of the different investigations of him. What do you think will happen to those if they haven't been resolved? Certainly by the time the election happens, but even theoretically, once he's a declared candidate again, could he use that as some sort of legal shield?
Well, no, he only if he gets into office. The Republican National Committee is paying a lot of Donald Trump's legal bills and Don Jr.'s for conduct before he became president. Why would they do that? Because they're afraid he will bolt and run as a third party. And if he does, the Democrats win the White House, no matter who they run. But if the Republicans nominate Donald Trump, if all of these cases come to naught, given the money he has, and more importantly, the voter suppression, which we're seeing this year and which 2 years from now will be radically worse if we don't vote out the people behind this, then, goodbye democracy. the only reason we still have a democracy is Donald Trump's incompetence, something I've been documenting for almost 34 years. I mean, and you should be very worried. What happens if instead it's a wannabe dictator other than Donald? Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, the US senator who should be in prison for stealing $1.5 billion from Medicare, Josh Hawley from Missouri, or Tom Cotton, or Ted Cruz, or Greg Abbott. Any one of those people is competent. You may not like them, but they are competent. They know how to use the levers of government, and they will do everything they can to make the end of our democracy and to make sure that we are a white supremacist, male-dominated society for as long as they possibly can.
Exactly. Yeah, we already know that we won't have any norms to defend us. We won't have a proto-dictator who so easily gets distracted and undermines his own efforts. I share that same fear. And so everyone, you could potentially be a part of the solution. Go to DC Report, read the report, and then get involved. Try to get this investigation back online. And David, I appreciate your ongoing work in trying to protect us from that future, but also for joining us on the Damage Report. Thank you as always.
Thank you.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.